Hi, welcome back to my channel. In this channel, we sometimes react to the goats of freedom.
What are you doing for women? How are you helping them?
Well, we believe that women help themselves. We believe that women help themselves.
This time the video is going to be a little bit more lighthearted. Still fun, hopefully.
Hello, Mrs. Thatcher. How do your jobs as a prime minister and as a mother compare?
Well, I couldn't really do a job as prime minister if my children were young. In this country, it takes quite a long time to get to being a prime minister. You see, I first went into parliament in 1959. So I've been in there, 28 years. And I just don't think I could have concentrated on the greater responsibilities if my children were still young. They have some things in common.
To say, as a mom of a 2.5-year-old that works full-time, I get what you're saying.
Make this quite clear. At home, you have to learn to live within the money you've got. You have to learn to budget. So you do with governments. And if you don't budget, if you borrow too much, you get into trouble. Your country gets into trouble. And if you borrowed too much at home, the family would soon be in financial difficulties. And, you know, people really tried to poke fun at this rather simple, straightforward belief of mine. They don't poke fun now. We've never got into difficulty with over-borrowing, because I, from the things which I learned at home and in a small business, say, no, you have to spend within your means.
It's straightforward, but it's true. You have to spend within your means. And yes, you learn that very well when you're taking care of a home, when you're responsible for doing the groceries, for paying the bills. You know, if you're not responsible, if you don't control your spending, it can really soon become a mess and you can overspend. And then you're screwed. It's the same with government, but people don't seem to grasp the fact that it's important for a government to be fiscally responsible, to not spend more than it makes. It will determine, you know, inflation. It will determine investments. The number one thing that a government has to do is to be fiscally responsible.
For women to get into politics?
I think it is harder. It certainly is harder for a woman with a young family, because people would say, but you can't leave your home. I was lucky. My home is in London. The constituency I represent is in Greater London. And so when my children were 6, I was able to think, well, I'll try and go for Parliament. And I did, and successfully. But I was always at home every evening.
What are you doing for women? How are you helping them?
Well, we believe that women help themselves.
We believe that women help themselves. This is so beautiful. People that don't dig freedom and don't understand yet the importance of individual freedom, the importance of free markets and a free society, don't get how beautiful that sentence is. You have to be a real nerd to get it, but we believe that women help themselves. What does that mean? The role of the government should be stay out of your way so you can do whatever you want. Provided you're not hurting anybody else, you can do whatever you want. You can go and work, or you can stay at home and be a treadwife. The role of the government is not to judge, is not to tell you what to do, is to stay out of your way. How are you helping women? That's probably not what that teenager wanted to hear, but I don't believe I have to help women. I think women can help themselves. Perfect.
For them. And we have legislation which makes discrimination against women for jobs illegal. But you know, women are coming up and up, and they're taking much greater part in many of the professions than they used to. But we still have the same problem as you do. There are not enough women coming into politics.
Mrs. Thatcher, you've been in power for as long as I can remember.
Oh, isn't that nice? That's lovely. I've been Prime Minister for 8 years.
How do other countries view Great Britain?
I think at the moment they view Great Britain as having overcome many of her problems. We used to be called the sick man of Europe. We're not called that anymore.
How do you perceive yourself, and how do you think other people perceive you?
Oh, goodness me. I have really no idea. There are things called images these days. What puzzles me is that sometimes one's image can get so different from the kind of person one is. But I think it's for other people to say how they perceive one.
These kids are too smart. They are way smarter than me. This is such an interesting concept. This is an interview from 1987. It was in the UK election. Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher was interviewed by two child journalists from Children's Express, a US kids newspaper. I love this. When I was a kid growing up in Brazil, my dad subscribed to a magazine made for kids, Veja Kid Mais. I remember reading it and it was so great. But this is a different concept. Apparently, the children are the ones making this newspaper. Great concept. I think this needs a comeback in 2025. But hey, if you're new here, if you're just subscribed, or if you just came across this video and clicked on it, hi, my name is Caroline. The left destroyed my country, and I am angry, and now I make YouTube videos. And my camera was crooked, so still feels crooked, but let's go on.
If you had more money for children in Great Britain, what would you spend it on?
More money? I think most of us are very worried in this country by some things which happens to some children. Some are neglected, some are cruelly treated. And I think that that is the very worst thing which we have to face.
What are you doing to stop these problems?
Well, we have more police, we have social workers, we have something called neighbourhood watches, but it's not a thing which needs the help of government only. But we do say to people, look, the life of children is so precious that if you see or hear something which makes you think a child is being badly treated, then please let us know.
And what happens to the children if something does happen to them?
They are taken,
Good follow-up.
ill-treating them. They might go to what's called a foster mother, or they might go into a home which is run by social workers to look after these children.
What happens to children who are born into poverty?
Well, we have something rather different from anything which you have. We have something run by government which is called a supplementary benefit system. And so if you have no income, then, in fact, you are able to get a house, and housing benefit is paid for you. And so everyone gets an income up to a certain level, on condition that they are available to do a job if one should come up.
How do you...
I'm not opposed to these sort of programs by any means. I think this is a much more useful way to spend government money than, some of the things that I hear about. But it made me think that's a very difficult thing to measure. Like how do you determine if the person is making themselves available to work? It's difficult.
Troubled kids who turn to crime or who are homeless.
It's a great worry, a very, very great worry. If they're homeless, they will come into care to be looked after by the local authority. But crime is a great worry because the peak age for criminal offences is the age of 15. In the end, you know, it's up to the person concerned whether they take to crime or whether they don't. And what government has to do is say, look, we can't make you be kind, considerate to one another. We can't make you good by legislation. But what we can do is to say that if you commit offences against your fellow citizens, against your fellow children, we will have quite tough sentences. It is a kind of world in which you should do as you would be done by.
Correct. The government can make you good by legislation. So the role of government is to make sure whoever commits a crime will have to pay for it. And many governments struggle to do so, which makes life really hard for the honest people. Speaking from experience, in my country, for instance, in Brazil, we have several problems, of course, but one of them is lack of resources for police, so for investigations. So for homicides, for example, there is a rate of 70 to 95% of homicides are never resolved in Brazil. That's like almost certain that if you commit an homicide, you won't be caught. Like 95% is a lot. That sends a signal to people. They learn that in Brazil, it's worth committing a crime because you won't get punished. Or if you get punished, the justice system will release you.
What problems are there in the educational system?
We're not very satisfied with our educational system, but we were finding that some of our children weren't coming out of school sufficiently able to read and write well enough, and sufficiently well versed in ordinary arithmetic and mathematics, and in wider general knowledge.
And if everything happened as it should,
then far many more young people would come out of school knowing certain basic things about language, about mathematics, certain basic things about science, certain basic things about geography and history. So they should really know how their lives fit into the background and really what kind of challenges which they have to take forward into the future.
Okay, it's been said that you've got everything that you've set out to get. What are your priorities from here?
Got everything that I've set out to get. Well, what are my priorities? First, a government has to be able to have a sure defence policy so that one's friends and allies know one's a reliable ally and a trusted friend. Secondly, it is really to give bigger and bigger opportunities to people who haven't had them and to enable more and more people to become what we would call the people's capitalism. If you have some talent, some ability, if you want something a little different, it's up to us as a government to enable you to have a larger and wider choice, because that's what freedom's all about.
And you do that by being a free market capitalist society. That's the only way. I'm sorry to hurt your feelings, socialist friend, but the only way that people can do whatever they want, they can pursue whatever business they want, business will flourish and you can get a job in whatever industry you'd like.
So Jamie, what did you expect from the Prime Minister and what did you get?
I think that she was a good interviewee. She answered what she wanted to say.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if there was something that she didn't want you to know, she didn't say it.
Yeah.
well, I asked her about some kids, if what she would do, what Great Britain does about kids who get into crime. She seemed to not really say too much about that. She seemed to talk more about crime in general.
In some ways, maybe she should care more about women's issues. I don't think that she really does. She says she cares. I don't know if she does, because it seems like children have about the same problems here that they do there in the United States.
Honestly, if the average voter in my country were as smart as these kids, we would be way better off. My last reaction video to this lady, the Iron Lady, it blew up here on YouTube. Today is August 5th, and so far I had 22,000 views on that video, which for a teeny tiny YouTube channel like mine is a lot. I just want to thank everyone that watched and commented. I learned a lot from all of you guys about her time as a prime minister. I learned about the other MPs that were in the room, about Dennis Skinner. I learned a lot. So why not react to the Iron Lady one more time? There are 2 ways to support this channel. One is by subscribing. The other one is by subscribing to my newsletter. It's free and it's on Substack, and I'll leave the link down below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.